Today we're going to start adding the toppings to our pizza. Before you can add toppings, you have to have your pizza sewn all the way around, stuffed, and then closed up the hole where you put the stuffing. After you finish that step, we can start thinking about the plan we had for our toppings. Now we've sort of sketched this out on day one, but of course if you want to change your plan, that is totally fine. Now the first thing that some kids like to do is start with an overall sauce. So I'm choosing red for this color, and I'm gonna put my pizza on there and then sort of trace the shape of it, just sort of lightly, so that I know how big I want my sauce to be. Now I don't want my sauce to cover all of the pizza because I want my stitches to show. That's something that I worked hard on and looks pretty cool. So I'm gonna make my sauce shape smaller than my pizza shape. And I'm kind of going for a wavy, kind of gooey shape with this. If I'm happy with my shape, then I can cut it out. After I have my background shape cut out, I'm gonna add a lot of different toppings on top of this. So we're sort of working in layers today. So when you do your other toppings, you sort of have a choice. You could either cut them without drawing them if you're kind of confident in the shape. Like I am planning to put some little strips of cheese on. So that would be really easy for me to just take my scissors and cut those really skinny rectangles that look like shredded cheese. So I don't really feel like I need to put a bunch of icky pencil marks on there if I'm just cutting something sort of simple. However, if I wanted to do something fancy, like maybe a sardine, everyone likes sardines on their pizza, then I might draw that out first. So I'm just taking my pencil, holding my felt in place, and kind of sketching out that long oval shape, and then my little triangle tail. This is also a good strategy to draw it first if you feel like you don't have a lot of space. That way you're making sure you're not wasting felt. So by sketching it out first, I can make sure that I have room to get two shapes on this one small piece of felt. After I'm happy with my sketch, then I can cut those shapes out. When I cut my shapes out, I always like to flip them over so that I don't see any pencil lines around the edge. Pencil does not really look good on top of the felt, so we want to hide it as much as we possibly can. Now some people might be wondering, but I want to add some details on my shapes. How do I do that if I can't use a pencil or a marker or whatever? Well, one good idea for this project that goes really well with what we already have going on is to use your needle and thread to add details. So when you use needle and thread for details, that's called embroidery. So like what I did on these shapes, I have a leaf right here that I just used a running stitch to make some vein details on the leaf. I used 2 stitches to make a little eye on my sardine. So if you want to add some details to your felt pieces, doing stitches can look really pretty and colorful, and it also goes really well with the stitches that we have around the edge. So I'm just gonna keep on going, making toppings for my pizza, and also kind of laying them out as I go to make sure that I like the way it looks. Once I have a lot of my toppings cut out and I sort of have my plan figured out, I'm gonna start gluing. We're gonna be using a different kind of glue called tacky glue, and it's really good for gluing things on fabric. So it's a lot thicker than our regular glue, so you're gonna have to squeeze a little bit harder. Also, I don't recommend setting it on its end like this. I recommend laying it on its side when you're not using it. That way the glue kind of stays near the tip. Otherwise it takes a really, really long time for it to drip down to the part where the glue comes out. So we're just gonna use little dots and little lines of glue, you don't need a whole lot, around the edge of each shape. Once you have it on, you can just gently press it onto your project. Now, just like regular glue, we want to try to not have any glue showing from around the edges of our project. So be really careful when you place your items that you don't have to move them around much once they have glue. And you can definitely overlap different shapes. And make sure that you put your glue on the correct side. Especially if you've done embroidery, the back side of your embroidery can sometimes look kind of messy, and that's okay. It doesn't matter what the back looks like, it only matters what the front looks like. So just make sure that you put your glue on the correct side of your shapes. When you feel like you've added enough shapes to your pizza and you have each ingredient sort of distributed evenly all across your pizza, then your project is complete. All we have to do is wait for the glue to dry.